Marvel Rivals is basically Overwatch 3 with Marvel characters. We're talking Avengers, Xmen, Guardians, Villains and more fighting it out in 6 vs 6 destructible arena matches across the whole multiverse. Unlike Overwatch though, it's third person. All this has me incredibly pumped. So far we have a lot of characters making it into the game. We have Loki, Magik, Namor, Lunar Snow, Groot, Raccoon, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Spiderman, Peni Parker, Iron Man, Bruce Banner, Hulk, Magneto, Mantis, Scarlet Witch, Sstorm, Punisher, and finally, for some reason, Galacta as the announcer. With many more characters promised each season.
Not everyone, but you wanted more?
So buckle up and let's run through everything we know about the characters coming to Marvel Rivals, their abilities, their roles and more. First, a quick explanation. Normally characters have 4 abilities and 1 ultimate, with some exceptions. They mostly fit in with the role of DPS tank or support, with tanks filling the role of distracting enemies and absorbing damage for the team. Supports healing, buffing and disrupting. DPS simply putting out damage and getting kills, but these are loose categories as some supports can do big damage and DPS can support and so on. There's more to life than just big damage numbers, folks. So let's start with Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, because it gives us a good idea of the lowest end of the health pool and the top. Usually, the more high damage or supporting skills a hero has, the lower their health. There are exceptions, but health is an easy way to establish a character's role. Very much like Diva, it seems Bruce Banner is the powered down version of the Hulk. It's unclear if you start in this form and have to Hulk out by building up then using your ultimate, or if you revert to Bruce after taking enough damage as a Hulk, but what we do know is that hulking out will take you from a measly 200 health to a massive 900, which in a lot of cases is 4 times more than your standard DPS character. By using your abilities, Hulk's HP pool can climb even higher, but we'll get to that soon. Bruce Banner has only 1 activatable ability, mapped to left shift, which bucks the typical 4 other characters have. It seems like a grenade of some kind, and we see that his basic attack, mapped to left click, is a gamma gun with 25 rounds. With 200 HP, the lowest we've seen in the game so far, expect him to die to a gentle breeze, but also hit quite hard. Really, what you want to be doing ASAP is using your ultimate to turn into the Hulk. After a cool animation which may or may not leave you vulnerable to enemies while you can't move, your clothes will rip off and you'll gain a lot of extra health and a full set of abilities, which I wish happened to me when my clothes ripped off. He uses his fists as weapons, so naturally they don't have ammo, but they seem to pack a punch. Hey, see what I did there? They hit Namor for around 30 damage a swing. His right click is his iconic ranged thunderclap attack. It finishes off Namor, so we can't tell its max damage, but what we do know is that it does more than his basic attacks, which you'd hope since it has an 8-second cooldown. This ability here you activate with C. While having Iron Man in your sights, you seem to throw gamma radiation at him, which infuses the suit. That activates a team-up effect, and it's unclear if that charges Iron Man's nanobeam ultimate percentage up to 100, or it simply empowers the ability, but what we do know is that Hulk and Iron Man will make an insane team. One has the reach and the firepower, and the other is the Hulk. We haven't seen what the left shift ability does yet, but it looks like a shield, so we have to assume it either gives him a shield, heals him, increases his HP, or gives him defense of some kind, which you'd expect from a tank role. Considering we see him rocking 15,050 health while he's doing his ultimate ability, Hulk is going to be very hard to bring down. Speaking of, his ultimate absolutely smashes this
Puny god.
It's a melee range single target beatdown. While going off, it gives him a ton of health in order to tank some hits. So what you'll do is you'll jump into the middle of the pack, cause some chaos by smashing their high priority target, while your team picks off the rest while the enemies are focused on you. Speaking of jump, the Hulk can leap long distances with his normal jump. Holding it down will create an arc showing you where you'll land, dealing around 40 damage to Namor. Hulk seems to be a powerful melee tanky brawler, which is exactly what we expect of him. The interesting mechanics will come from the need to transform from Bruce Banner, building up ultimate before hulking out. Will this make the Hulk slightly overtuned for the trade-off? We'll have to see, but as of right now, the damage levels of his attacks seem in line with other tanks. Doctor Strange is the definition of support. He has a high 600 health, but can also hold right click to bring up a barrier of magic.
It's a simple spell, but quite unbreakable.
Well, actually, it's completely breakable with 800 health. That's still nearly a Hulk though, so it's nothing to scoff at. His left click weapon is simply him throwing out basic magic bolts from his hands 6 times before he needs to reload. Can you even reload spells? Is it recharge? Whatever. Left shift has you hover through the air using your cloak of levitation, making him very mobile. Pressing F puts down an exit portal and E puts down an entry. Well, that's my assumption based on the fact that E is a portal symbol and is blocked out. You need the exit destination out first, then you can put an entry point for your team to walk through seamlessly. It looks absolutely gorgeous when you do, and not just because Spider-Man jumps through and unleashes his ultimate. Great positioning is key in team games like this, and I can see Doctor Strange being a key support in high-level coordinated play. Finally, his ultimate is Eye of Agamotto. It seemingly does a minus 60 damage to everyone in a large AoE, but there must be more to it than that. This is the Time Stone after all, so if you look closely, it seems like Doctor Strange is astral pushing out their spirits. Perhaps this is a huge AoE stun with a bit of damage tacked on. If so, it's extremely deadly, as it makes for the perfect time for your friends to unleash their huge AoE abilities and clean up. I'm scared of Doctor Strange, and it seems like he'll be dangerous in talented hands. Iron Man is a hard one to understand from the limited information we have. I love the character and I'm more pumped to see what they do with him, but bear with me. He's a DPS character as you'd expect, with only 250 HP. He has 2 weapon attacks on left and right click, instead of an ability with a cooldown on right click like many others. His left and right click start off as Repulsor Blast, but it changes throughout the footage, so I'll come back to this. Like Doctor Strange, Iron Man can fly around with left shift, though he seems faster and more maneuverable. The limits of this are unknown, but in the footage it seems like he always has the high ground. It also seems like the standard Iron Man ultimate is Maximum Pulse. Damage unknown as it kills a lot of people and cuts away before we see the health bars. Here's where it gets complicated. It seems though E may be an ability based on the current mode. If you look closely, activating the ultimate after Hulk infuses him with Gamma gives him new suit attachments. It also seems to change the ultimate to Nano Beam. It does seem like it was modified, evidenced by the green color. At any rate, it does an extremely high 200 damage per second when hitting targets. Keeping the beam on them will be the challenge. After the beam, Iron Man remains modified. For how long is unknown, but he has new gauntlets and new standard weapon attacks with unlimited ammo. The E ability symbol has turned into a radiation symbol. Both abilities are unknown at this point, but Iron Man does have a chest beam shown here, so it might be an ability on E. He also has a missile attack on F, though it seems like it was improved by Hulk's Gamma as well, as it has that distinct green blast effect. But it's unknown what it looks like when Iron Man is not powered up. To say Iron Man is going to be straightforward is not giving credit to the character, so we can expect him to have a big toolkit to handle different situations at range based on different team-up effects. I honestly don't know if you could have an Overwatch style Marvel game without Spider-Man. There's something about him swinging through the map and clinging to walls that has me excited. So he seems like a melee DPS with 300 HP, slightly more than the 200 or 250 for the ranged DPS. He uses his fists as weapons, so they don't need to reload. He'll have improved jumps with the ability to swing on his web with left shift. All we've seen is his ultimate, which webs enemies in a large AoE and does huge damage over time, taking down a full 250 HP Magik in under 2 seconds, as well as her friends, and as a bonus, he gets 150 shield, or temporary health, or armor, or whatever Marvel will call it, while in his ultimate, letting him survive while he does his thing. From what we can see, he has a range attack on right click, but he has a limited ammo of 5, which is shown in the middle of the screen. It most likely regenerates over time. He also has a web attack on E, which you have to assume is a stun or a root effect of some kind to stop enemies getting away. The symbol for F is a big fist, so my hope is that this attack sends enemies skywards for him to combo in the air. Spider-Man is going to be a fast mobile melee DPS for anyone who wants to get in there and dish out a lot of pain quickly. Next up is Luna Snow, the character that makes so many people say, who? That's because she's a relatively new character to the universe, only making her appearance in 2019. She's a K-pop idol with very obvious ice powers, but no, she's not Iceman. That would be too easy. Instead, she brings that Korean K-pop cuteness to a ranged support or ranged DPS playstyle. 250 health, ice shards for basic attacks, 30 before she needs to reload them. She also skates along the ice as she moves. She starts firing her ice shards off at her ally Groot, which seems to do nothing, so I'm not sure if this is to buff him somehow or she's making a mistake, but after, she uses her left shift and it says, "Be strong together," suggesting that maybe she functions like a support hybrid. C throws a ball of ice, but in this case, she uses it on Namor, giving him the team-up effect of ice-infused attacks and abilities. Her ultimate has her sliding around with an AoE ice effect all around her, but we don't see enough to know what's really going on. All we know is it lasts over 12 seconds, and it seems to apply to allies in some way, evidenced by the symbol at the bottom. That's all we really know about Luna Snow, just glimpses into her but no explanation.
I don't even know who you are.
Namor is up next and he's Marvel's Aquaman, so how will he play? Well, he has 250 HP and seems like a ranged DPS. He throws tridents as his basic attack, but his main gimmick seems to be that he can defensively place up to 3 octopus that function like stationary turrets. He also has a defensive ability on left shift that surrounds him in water, though the exact effects are unknown since it dissipates right as the Hulk smashes him. Luna Snow's Infuse makes his basic attacks hit harder. His right click spins his spear around before he throws it, seemingly dealing more damage because of the ice effect. But as of right now, any extra effects aren't obvious. It just seems like a bigger attack that does more damage on a cooldown. The Ice Infuse also gives him an Ice Octopus turret. I've frame by frame the footage of this so much, but for Namor, I honestly can't work out what his C and his E do differently. It seems like E gathers charges and places octopus on the field, but we also see him using the C ability to summon an ice octopus, as that ability goes on cooldown right after it's summoned, so it's all unclear. All I know is Namor seems like a straightforward defensive DPS hero. The next character is anything but straightforward. Loki, with 250 health, is a tricky DPS hero. He has range beams from his staff for a basic attack, needing to rearm after 10. With E, he's able to cast an illusion of himself at a location, no doubt copying his actions to look more convincing. His illusion has the same HP as him when it spawns, then by pressing F, Loki snaps his finger and relocates to the illusion, throwing your enemies for a loop. Without this ability, enemies would simply recognize the illusions and ignore, but having the ability to trade places means that they'll need to keep an eye on them, given they don't get fooled, that is. It seems like he has a heal on left shift and some kind of cloak on right shift. If so, he's going to be a very sneaky guerrilla warfare style DPS, meaning that you sneak in, kill and get out before you take damage. That is, of course, until you get your ultimate, which transforms you into the first enemy you target, in this case, Black Panther. The ultimate lasts 15 seconds and seemingly powers up all the abilities you now have, as each of Black Panther's skills kills an enemy outright. It also seems to give you their ultimate at 100% after either one kill or after a few seconds, so a good Loki player will be able to pick the best enemy to copy at any given time, making Loki one of the highest characters to learn, but very effective in the right hands. This is a good time to talk about Black Panther, another melee DPS like Spiderman. And like Spiderman, he has 300 HP and a basic melee attack, claws this time though. We can only see the Loki version in action, but the skills translate 1-to-1, we're just unsure how much damage the regular Black Panther skills will do. Left shift surges him forward, dealing damage to enemies as it passes through. It gets some serious range with an 11-second cooldown. E is a kick and then corkscrew-like attack with an 8-second cooldown. This also surges Black Panther forward. It seems Black Panther will be extremely mobile on the ground, dashing in and out of fights quickly. What's interesting is that he has an ability on spacebar, seemingly a vertical dash, so 3 dash-like abilities. Right click is a cooldown range spear attack, and the ultimate summons Bust, which charges forward and takes out things along the way, including the environment. Magik is up next, and after playing a lot of Marvel's Midnight Suns, I'm interested to see how she plays. She's a DPS and seemingly melee, but has the lower 250 HP, seemingly because as she damages enemies, she gets a stacking shield. She swings her sword for basic attack, so it doesn't need to reload. E charges her forward and slices upwards. Maybe the right positioning does a lot more damage since it takes out Peni Parker. Her ultimate is Dark Child, transforming her into a demon form. It gives her empowered abilities and a basic attack. One basic slash in this form is doing close to 125 damage to Black Panther. Left shift sends her teleporting through portals. It comes with 2 charges, so you'll be mobile in melee skirmishes. Right click changes when you just come out of the portal. In this form, it's a longer range AoE slash. I'm not sure what it does normally. So you'll have ways of closing the distance, not as much as Black Panther, but you'll seemingly have a more stay in the fight playstyle due to gaining shield as you fight. Magik is a straightforward melee duelist that seems to do a ton of damage if she can get in effectively and isn't overwhelmed. Raccoon is up next, and he's a ranged DPS support with 250 HP. His standard attack uses a big rapid firing gun, 45 ammo before it needs to reload. Right click however seems to be a ranged heal of some kind. He can run up walls as standard, and with a left shift he can use his jetpack to fly around, making it hard for Iron Man to keep the nano beam on him. What's unclear though is what his other abilities do, though by pressing C on Groot you're able to ride him. I'm not sure what the benefit here is though, but if I had to guess, you need to get through Groot's insanely large HP pool before you can damage Rocket while they've teamed up, letting you fire with impunity. After seeing all these characters, you have to assume that the C button is simply to help you use a team up effect. It might mean that Hulk doesn't have a normal gamma firing attack that influences enemies and is only really used to do those team up abilities. So that's all the characters we know a bit more about, though we have seen bits and pieces of others, like Peni Parker in the Iron Spider seems to be quite tanky, with 600 HP and 350 armor in her ultimate, which rushes forward for around 12 seconds while stabbing with her legs and knocking enemies back, dealing around 75 damage a hit. She can also naturally run up walls. It seems like she's going to be a disruptive tank. We only see Groot in the background, but he seems to be a tank with long-range melee attacks, sending out branches and vines at enemies, extending his arms like Dalsim from Street Fighter. He seems to have 900 health, which is the same as Hulk. With an ultimate that roots all enemies together, he also seems like he's able to throw poison balls of sorts to follow up. So those are all the characters showcased in the match. The characters teased to be shown next are Sstorm, so expect lightning-based AoE DPS, Magneto, which really could be a tank, support, or DPS based on the direction they want to take him. Considering they made him huge though, maybe a tank. Star-Lord, which seemingly has to be a tricky DPS, Mantis, which most likely will be a support, Punisher, which could be a DPS or a tank based on the absolute unit they made his model as well. Finally, Scarlet Witch, which would either be a ranged support, DPS, or a mix of both, based on her powers. So this team of 6 seems balanced if at least one of Magneto or Punisher are tanks. So that's everything we know so far. What do you think? Are you pumped for Marvel Rivals? If so, leave me some love below by telling me who you're most looking forward to playing as. Also drop a like and sub. I'll be back with much more Rivals. So until then, ciao friends.